My name's Rachel. I work for Unity. Today I'm wearing a animal print hairband. I have long blonde hair, which I'm wearing over my left-hand shoulder, and I'm wearing gold hoop earrings. You'll probably recognize my voice because it is I like to say a mild Scouse accent. Some of you might think it's strong. So that's who I am. This will be one of the voices that you hear. I'm now going to hand over to Melissa. She's going to describe herself and we're going to crack on. So Melissa, thank you so much for coming and joining us today. I think the first big jumping off point we want to ask you is, how did you get to the point you're at in your career? Tell us your story, your journey.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Johns. I am currently sat on my grey sofa, so that's the background you can see. I'm wearing a navy blue top and I have blonde hair that's getting very long and is now over both of my shoulders. I've strategically placed the camera so that it chops off a little bit of my head where you can see my roots coming through because I can't get into the hairdressers yet. So hello, a huge thank you to Unity Theatre for having me. It's lovely to be asked to be part of this. It seems like it's been a fantastic series and you've had some brilliant people on. I know Matthew Zire really well and Luke Barnes and a few of your other ones, so what a great opportunity for people to be able to listen in. So thank you, it's lovely to be here. How am I where I am? It's a strange one when you sit and you think back to where you've sort of come from in terms of your career. And one of my best friends called Lily Levin, who is a director, she's currently directing me in our show Snatched. She sometimes says something that I always think about. She says, when things are going really well, she tells me to think how proud first year me would be. Lily and I met in our first year at drama school when we were 19, and she will often just remind me to have a think about what 19-year-old, 20-year-old, 23-year-old Melissa would feel about the good news when it comes through. And I think that's really important, because we sometimes get lost in working so hard and sending off all those emails and going to all those auditions and never hearing back from those emails and never hearing back from those auditions, that when we do get good news, we think about it very much in the moment, and we don't think about, oh my gosh, if I'd have got that news 10 years ago, or somebody told me 10 years ago that that's what would happen. The feeling, it just shifts your mind completely. So it's nice to do these chats because you do get to remind yourself that you've worked really hard, actually. So I don't come from a theatrical background in terms of my family and my upbringing. My family are very working class. My dad is a Romany gypsy, and he married out of the gypsy. He sort of married out of the gypsy family. And met my mum, who worked in the local jam factory, and they don't understand the arts at all. They can sort of enjoy theatre from time to time. My dad actually can't write. We didn't have books in the house. Theatre was just something that wasn't a huge part of our family, although my family can really appreciate it now. So I joined our local amateur dramatic society, like most people probably will when they're younger. There was a wonderful lady there called Barbara Jones, who was much older than me, and used to take me to see theatre. She would, ring my mum and dad up and say, can I take Melissa to see this? Can I take Melissa to see that? And that's how I guess my love for theatre really started, because I was given this opportunity by this lovely woman. And so, like most people, that leads on to doing it in school, continuing that way. And I suppose Yeah, my route was one that is talked about quite often, but it's certainly not the only route, or sometimes the best route. So after A levels and after doing some, I went to Australia for a bit. Oh gosh, that does make me sound. Does that make me sound a bit basic? Right, I'll try and I'll make myself more interesting as I go along. just had a gap year and travelled, but no, I did. Yes, at 18, my boyfriend at the time, we had 8 jobs between us, and we worked like mad, and then we bought a camper van and drove up the east coast of Australia and back down and came home. And then I got into drama school. And I trained at a drama school called East 15 Acting School, which is in East London. It was a fantastic 3 years. It was the best training for me. It's very much focused on Stanislavski and method acting. So for me, it was perfect, and it's training that really has helped me I guess be the actor that I am today. And after graduating from drama school, I got in and I was so excited. Being a disabled actor and having a disability that's, you know, really quite obvious in terms of when people see you, I wasn't sure whether I'd get in, because, you know, even at 18, 19, I was very aware that this industry is so much about appearance. And I didn't know at the time how much it would affect me, but I had a feeling. So to get in, I was really excited that I'd managed to get a place. The course that I did was called Acting and Contemporary Theatre, and it worked a lot on devising. So we did so much, we were trained so much in making our own work. And I think, again, for me, that was just the perfect course, because it gave me the actor training that I needed, but as well as that, it just gave me this huge amount of confidence in creating my own work and knowing how to work with other creatives. When I graduated from East 15, I continued to live in London, and I had a few lovely jobs. I worked with the brilliant Grey Eye Theatre Company, which most disabled actors will know about Grey Eye, but if you don't, please go on their website, get in touch with them, you know, be on their mailing lists. That's Grey Eye, Graeae. Yeah, I've got that right, haven't I?
Yeah.
So I did some theatre jobs with them, and some TV, you know, your sort of Casualty and Doctors and all of those wonderful filming opportunities that you get, that I think are such good starters, because it's a real chance to learn. And my experience of things like Casualty and Doctors and the things earlier on were that people, although it was a rush because they have to get things done in a small amount of time, they know that a lot of the actors that they're having on for sort of 1 or 2 episodes, this might be, you know, some of their first jobs. And I found that they are so good with just explaining stuff. Whenever I had questions, they were just ready to answer it. And so having those jobs felt like an extra bit of training, really, because it got me to, you know, have the chance to understand camera work, which you don't always get to do as much of at drama school. Well, you didn't 10 years ago. That might have changed. But I hadn't really, you know, I knew that it was my grafting years, and I knew, or I assumed, that I wouldn't just walk into, you know, big, massive things straight away, and that this was absolutely part of an actor's grafting time. But the longer that I lived in London, and huge apologies if there's anybody listening that does live in London, because for some people I think it really works, and London is just part of your life, and it works really well. But for me, it just didn't. It wasn't working out as well as I would have hoped. And after a few years, I just thought, I really need to. I just need to move. I need to do something. Something needs to change. I was working as a teaching assistant in a hospital school in Hampstead, and I loved it. I was able to do drama with the young people. We were able to look at drama as types of therapy, and it was a really great job, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. And I could feel myself getting so comfortable I was earning good money working there. It was stable. They let me have time off whenever I needed to because it was through an agency. So they let me have time off for my auditions. And that is something I would really recommend, actually, if people are looking for that job that needs to pay the bills in between but needs to be flexible. Teaching, supply teaching and teaching assistant work is I think something that I really enjoyed, and it really supported me to be an actor. And those teaching agencies are all over the UK, so you quite often don't need a whole load of qualifications for it. But it's really rewarding, and so I'd really recommend looking into teaching agencies for things that can help you support you financially when you're sort of starting out, or not just starting out, when you're continuing, actually, because we always need to pay our bills. But I was getting comfortable, and I thought something needs to change, and something needs to change fast, because yeah, I felt like I was sinking a little bit. And so one of my best friends, his name is James Ernest, and he's a playwright. Feel free to look him up. He's fantastic. That's James Ernest. He rang me one day and said, I think I'm going to move to Manchester. And I thought, oh, okay, that's massive, right. And so in that phone call, I said, I'm going to come with you. I'm going to come to Manchester, and I'm just going to see if this works out for me. And it was a huge decision to make. I was 26 at the time. I only knew James, who I was going to be moving in with, and also wonderful Shirley Houston. Shirley Houston, who I run Dank with. Any Corrie fans will know Shirley plays Izzy in Coronation Street. They're the only two people that I knew. So I knew I had to be really brave in order to make the leap. And thankfully it did pay off. The first few months were terrifying. I was working in some schools that weren't paying very much. Some of them were paying like £40 a day, and it was really, yes, not great at the first few months. And I did start to think, oh my gosh, did I make the right decision? But I think sometimes, you know, fortune favors the brave, and I think we have to sometimes just make those leaps. And I think what's so great about places like Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds, Sheffield, that I think I found in those places rather than London, are these wonderful networks of people. And I think in these smaller cities, as it were, people just seem to have a bit more time for you. I think in London, sometimes I found that time could be money. Not for everyone, of course, not everyone is like that. But there were so many times when I felt like I would talk about having a meeting with someone and it would probably never happen. But what I found in Manchester and in Liverpool, actually, was that people would say, you know, we'd meet at an event and someone would say, oh, let's have a coffee and chat about that. And guaranteed within a week or two, I'd be sat having a coffee with that person and we'd be chatting. And no, it might not lead to a job, but my God, it relights your fire just talking to someone that is in this industry and that wants to make a change like you do. And I found that I was able to have those conversations so much more in sort of Manchester and Liverpool, Sheffield, Leeds, than I was able to have in London. And as I say, that's just personal for me. It might not be the case for anyone else. I then, I won a fitness competition. This is very random. I won a fitness competition for I was highlighting how people with disabilities can access exercise and fitness, and I ended up winning this competition, and I won a trip to LA. So in May 2017, I was in LA. I got to bring my little brother with me, who is also an actor, and he's 9 years younger, and yeah, he's brilliant. So I took him with me, and I got a phone call it was about 2-3 in the morning from my agent, which obviously woke me up. So I answered, and she said, she suddenly remembered and went, oh my God, darling, it's the middle of the night, isn't it? And I said, yeah, it is, but is everything okay? And she said, yes, you've been cast in Coronation Street. And I was so confused because I hadn't auditioned for Coronation Street, which brings me, I guess, to my next bit of advice, which is keep up contacts with people, because my gosh, it pays off. Back in 2015, I'd been chosen to do a workshop day with Coronation Street. Sherilee, didn't know Sherilee at the time, but she had set up with Coronation Street a whole day of workshops for 10 disabled actors, and I'd been one of those 10 people. And the wonderful team at Corrie, including brilliant Jenny Radcliffe, who is casting director at Corrie. The last thing she said to me, and the team said to me, was keep in touch. Let us know what you're up to. If anyone says that, my gosh, don't shoot yourself in the foot by not doing it. Like, keep it up. Don't bug people, of course, don't bug people. But every time you have a little bit of news that you think actually that might be really worth them knowing, tell them. Because majority of the time they really do want to know. And so I just kept up my connections with Corrie over the 2 years. I told them when I moved to Manchester. I sent them my show reel when I'd managed to get it updated, or I sent them links to get tickets for shows that I might be in. And just from that, I came to mind when this new character came up, and Jenny said to the director of that particular episode, should we get Melissa in to audition? This is her show reel. And he said, no, I want her to have the part because I think she's right. So that just shows the power of never knowing what is going on the other side of that door. I think we as actors think that we know everything that's going on and that we're massively in control, and we're not. And just as that can be terrifying, thinking that we're not in control, it can actually be really exciting, because it also means that there are other people having conversations about you when you don't even know. So yes, so I filmed for Corrie in 2017 for a little bit, and then ended up going back in 2018. I went back in again last year, and it's just been a really lovely relationship that I was really grateful for. And what it also did was, by going in and out, allowed me to take on other jobs, theatre jobs like Othello Macbeth, which Rachel, you said that you'd see me in, which was in London and Manchester, Sheffield Crucible, where we did One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, other TV jobs, which, you know, were able to keep my show reel kind of updated, and so yeah, I think for me, you know, Corrie was a turning point. It was where things suddenly felt like they went up the next level, and it didn't come from an audition. Yes, it came from a workshop, but I think, yeah, just it made me realise never underestimate the power of meetings through workshops and things like that, because they can lead to such brilliant things. So I was living in Manchester, working, which was really lovely, and helped to set up Triple C, which is the organisation that we run. Had sort of they'd sort of already started to set Triple C up, and then I came up and joined and just helped with that as well. And in 2018 we set up DANK, which is the Disabled Artist Networking Community, which is DANK is a community of disabled artists of all art forms. We have disabled writers, directors, actors, producers, dancers, musicians, crew. And we now have 800 people on our database, which is really exciting. And it's a community that is led very much by us. So we have lots of artist development things going on at the moment. We're holding similar webinars like this, so that artists can just work on artist development and get to know a little bit about other people in the industry. In person, when we're allowed to see each other again, we hold regular events at different theatres and arts organisations. It would be lovely to come and run one in Liverpool at some time. That would be wonderful. And the other side of it is that we just have key conversations with the industry and with the change makers, basically. So we empower artists to get to a place where they feel ready, but we also empower the the industry and the decision makers and the change makers to be ready for those people, because you know we can't have a load of artists ready to work and then no work for them. So we very much work with both sides, so that we're having two-way conversations the whole time, really. So yeah, it's been really exciting. And then last year, 2019, I was cast in Mike Bartlett's new BBC One drama, Life, which is coming out, I think possibly autumn time. It will be BBC One 9 o'clock. I don't know what day of the week it is yet, but that's one of my first lead roles in a drama. It's a 6-part drama, and the other actors are wonderful people like Alison Steadman, who is just, yeah, that was a bit of a dream come true working alongside Alison Steadman. Adrian Lester, Victoria Hamilton, Peter Davidson, just some really fantastic names, and then little old me somewhere in the mix. And again, it really is. It's about just keeping up those connections, and yeah, I think we should never underestimate how much that can do. So yeah, I'm here now, still in Manchester. I've got a one-woman show in collaboration with the Lowry and Live Theatre that was Arts Council funded at the beginning of the year. It's called Snatched. It's a one-woman show. It's an autobiographical piece. In a nutshell, when I first left Corrie, my iPhone got hacked, and I had photos of me leaked all onto sites everywhere. The papers picked up on it because it was awfully exciting that somebody with a disability has a sex life, God forbid. And so it's very much my response to what happened, but also growing up with a body that was really different to everybody else's, how I sort of managed that life of finding it really difficult to have that body, and then what you do when you've lived those difficult times, and then something like that happens where your body pretty much becomes public property in terms of those photos, because nothing can ever be done about them. So yes, that's Snatched. It was meant to be on at Live Theatre the week that all theatres were closed down, so that was great timing. I've just done the Writers on Hold with the brilliant Alchemist Theatre Company. That's the Alchemist Theatre Company. Please have a look at them. They're fantastic. They produce some brilliant work, and there's a few snippets of Snatched on their website. And yes, we were supposed to be doing Snatched at the Lowry in October, but we should have more details on that fairly soon. Yeah, there's a nutshell.
Great. That's amazing. No, that was brilliant. Thank you so much. I think we'll go straight on to questions then, because there's some real obvious points there to pick up within some of the questions we've been submitted in advance. Yeah. So I think you've touched upon it a bit, but there's two here from Jessica. She said she's sorry she can't attend the call, but because she'd like to watch the recording back, if I could ask her questions anyway, which I absolutely will. So her question is around any courses or schemes that you'd recommend as an emerging performer, like outside of that formal training of drama school.
Yeah, I think firstly as well, we often forget about university courses and how brilliant university courses can also lead to. I know drama school can be really, really difficult to get into, and quite often never a reflection on your talent, actually, which is really hard to take. Yeah. I know, but you know, you can keep trying, but there is a limit that you reach, and for some people, you know, I know they continue to try for 5, 6, 7 years. Daniel Craig that tried for 6 years or something.
Wow.
Yeah, and that can get you down, and just because you stop trying, I think it's really important to say that should never ever be a reflection on your passion. Your yes, passion and privilege should never be confused, I think, and actually expensive to continue to keep trying for
absolutely
drama. and if you can't continue to, that should never be a reflection on your passion. But saying that, there are some fantastic courses at university that do drama courses that can lead you to do brilliant things. If you Google some of your sort of favourite actors, so many of them did a course at university as opposed to drama school. So I really would say to have a look at university courses as well that offer drama or theatre studies. But for people that don't want to go down that route at all, I know my brother, he did a foundation at East 15, and then he's drama school just isn't for him. That's what he's decided. He's very much, and I'm encouraging him to do it. Just start, because absolutely, drama school and university is brilliant and can really give you those great foundations. But as soon as you finish, you've still got to do the grafting, just like anyone else. So if you want to start that grafting early, then absolutely go for it. And the ways I probably would suggest doing that are following social media. I think is a really great tool, and I know it's difficult because I know some people do find social media really, really hard. But if you are able to find a part of your professional life that can have social media, making sure that you're following those theatre groups on things like Facebook, Manchester Theatre Network, Northwest Theatre Network, all of those brilliant groups, because one, you find very like-minded people in them that you can end up making friendships through, and maybe even creating your own work. But so many opportunities are posted on those, and they're not always hugely paid, or sometimes sadly not paid, or they might be profit shares. But again, what they do is they just act as stepping stones. You can have a lovely time along the way, you meet fantastic people, and it just gives you the chance to be showcased. And going back to what I said earlier about always having an excuse or a reason to email people in the industry or casting directors, those opportunities, whilst not being hugely paid, will give you those opportunities to go, oh, I'm in this. It's not massive, but I'm in this. So keep thinking of all the other things that those opportunities do. No, they're not the next big blockbuster, but my gosh, they can really help in the stepping stones to where you want to be. Courses like MAP, Manchester Actors Platform, which is run by Simon Naylor and Alexandra Maxwell. They both run 53.2, which is a brilliant theatre in Manchester. Brilliant. So much love for 53.2. They are both brilliant. Their theatre is brilliant, and they again have loads of opportunities for people. So I only really know, apart from with Alex and Simon working with them, but all of these things I think are I've only ever found out through social media. Brilliant. Bryony Kimmings makes her own work. She makes her own autobiographical shows. She's made some brilliant pieces. I'm not sure whether you've seen anything, Rachel. But she has made some fantastic pieces. And she did a Zoom, she runs workshops, and myself and Lily took part in a Zoom workshop at the beginning of lockdown, which was how to make autobiographical theatre. And I got so much from that one day. And it cost £30 for the day, and I've just got nuggets of information that I will take away with me for a very long time for that. So yes, uni courses are great to look at, but also keep looking at those opportunities on social media, because it really is, I just think it's a massive way forward with everything at the moment.
Definitely, absolutely. And I really love what you said about making sure you're staying present in those contacts. So like the way you kept sending your information to Coronation Street. I think sometimes I feel like I sit on the other side of that, being based in a venue, and I really just couldn't echo and stress that enough, that we welcome people getting in touch with us. And actually it's all about assigning value to yourselves. Please never feel like you're pestering us in any way, because that somehow suggests a power imbalance. And actually your time is incredibly valued to us, and your practice and your art. So I think that's absolutely wonderful advice, Melissa, about keeping those contacts going and really not doubting yourself or shooting yourself in the foot with maybe saying, oh, I don't want to bother them, because it's really never bothering. So I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it really is. And I think that we always go, gosh, what if I'm a nuisance, or what if I'm don't obviously we all have a bit of self-awareness in terms of knowing if we're going to be a nuisance or not, but that's why those jobs that you might find on things like theatre network sites, and also the other one is when it comes to theatre companies, Google theatre companies and look at their websites. Make a huge list of all the theatre companies that you love or you might not know about them. So Google them, and just make a thing that every couple of months you're going to have a look and update yourself on what they've come up with, or what opportunities they've got, because it's those opportunities that will give you a bit of fire to email the next lot of people, and it pushes you on.
Absolutely, definitely. Fab. And so one of the next questions is slightly similar, and you've mentioned some of them given that you run them. Someone has also asked, what networks can you recommend for disabled performers? So I know that I believe
absolutely get on our DANK database. Please get on our DANK database. If you email, and I guess we could put it in the chat, CCCmanchester@gmail.com. Katie has just put, I second DANK being one, or Katie is a wonderful member of our DANK community. CCCmanchester@gmail.com. But CCC, sorry, that's not me saying, yes, it's CCC as in the wording, TRIPL.
Oh, brilliant. I see Rachel's just dropped that in.
Thank you, Rachel. Email in, we can send you the link to join the database. We have got a really exciting website that's going to be launched in a few months. That will be a central resource, because we got really fed up with loads of people saying, oh, I really wanted to cast a disabled actor, but I didn't know where to find them. Or I really wanted to employ disabled crew members, but I didn't know where to find them. The list goes on. We always hear that as an excuse. And do you know what, to some extent, maybe it is an excuse. Time is tight in this industry and it's hard to search. So we are creating a huge central resource for disabled creatives. It will act a little bit like a LinkedIn page. People will be able to update their profiles, say how they want to be contacted, and it will just act as a very central resource for that. So please join DANK, Disabled Artist Networking Community.
Amazing. That's great.
And also things like Grey Eye and, Profile. Profile is a database for disabled actors, which is run by Spotlight. So yeah, have a look on the Profile database so you can join.
That's great. I think what I love about DANK is what you mentioned about the kind of two-way conversation you have with gatekeepers, so to speak, of people casting, people employing, those creating work. And one of the questions we've had in advance really speaks to that, and it's actually in light of the situation we find ourselves in. So the question is about how you think the venues and organisations can use the change in industry, which it is changing in light of coronavirus, to become more inclusive and accessible. It's a big question, and I know a lot of people are asking it at the moment.
Absolutely, but it's the right question, and please, I utterly empower people to keep asking that question to employers, to theatres, to TV companies. Keep reminding them that this time right now is dreadful and awful, and people have lost people so close to them, and it's been a terrible time, and that's why I always feel bad saying that it feels like a really exciting time at the same time. But what I mean by that is it's a chance for us to reinvent ourselves. We're having to strip ourselves right back. We've already had to do that in lockdown. For me, whilst I didn't agree with this everyone's in the same boat thing, because absolutely some people were on a cruise and some people were in a little dinghy boat, so no, it's not that people are in the same boat at all financially, but I do think that there was a sense of equality when lockdown first hit, because suddenly nothing was accessible and everyone had to look at new ways of working through Zoom, through technology. And I actually think that the disabled community were way ahead of the game on that, because on a daily basis, we're constantly having to come up with new ways of doing stuff. So for us, it was like, right, well, we just need to do it this way. So we were able to really push that sort of agenda. But yes, Shirley and I actually had, we were able to put our input in to the new guidelines that have been written for TV and film. And we were approached by BAFTA, which was lovely. And we basically just said, look, you know, it just has to include it. We're not saying that we have to know exactly what the policy is right now, but if in all of these new policies you're having to write, because everyone's having to write new policies, have a look at where your gaps are in access. Keep mentioning the word disability, keep mentioning inclusion, keep mentioning access. Even just by those words being in those policies, we're gonna make a huge change.
Definitely.
So yeah, I think it is a big question, but if as many of you can ask that big question as possible to the people that you see, you know, and just keep reminding employers, not just in the arts, but employers all round, if you are having to do your policies from scratch or tweak or change them, now is the perfect time for you to be inclusive. Absolutely,
definitely. That's fantastic. I'm going to go to the chat now because we've had some questions in there. So I think this is from Emma. So as an educator, what needs changing in education to help young people achieve in the arts?
Oh, that's a great one, and a really difficult one as an educator, actually, because we're having the arts stripped from us left, right and centre quite often, aren't we? Yeah, the arts is so important, and for so many reasons. I did a talk on a radio show not long ago where I just said, you know, it's not even just for the people that want to go into the arts at the end of it, but the tools that you get from, you know, accessing the arts at school and at grassroots level is just the changes that will make to the rest of your life and how you hold yourself. You know, you can be the most academic person in the world, but if you can't hold your own in an interview or be able to allow your personality to shine through, or, you know, that's a really difficult area then, isn't it? So I just want to remind myself of the question from Emma, who, as an educator, what needs changing in education. I think managing expectations is a huge one, and that's not about putting people off, because I know I get really fed up and people still say it to me now, and I think I've been doing this for 10, 11 years. I know, but especially at the beginning when people say, oh, that's very hard, you know, do you know how difficult that's going to be? And that's not what you need to hear, actually. But I do think it is about managing expectations, and in the world that we currently live in, I up until a few months ago, I ran with two colleagues, Emma Lansley and James Ernest. I ran a performing arts school called Scene Talent, and what I think I would often do with the young people is, what I noticed about the generation at the moment is there's a real difference between somebody wanting to become famous and someone wanting to work in the arts. And I think there's a real discussion to be had there with people in this generation, because you've got Instagram, TikTok, and all of these things. It's really important to explain to people the difference between being famous and being a celebrity and working in the arts. They're two very different things that, of course, can cross over, but one of them has a driving force. They both have driving force. One of them has a longer lasting driving force. And so I think it's about really educating our next generation to understand the importance of our fringe theatre, of our tiny little theatres, of the parts that are going to come up that are going to be the stepping stones to hopefully maybe bigger stuff. But I think I don't think we currently learn about those stepping stones. I don't think we know enough about the industry. I think that growing up, I saw the arts as you're either a singer, musician, an actor, or a dancer. I didn't know that you could be a researcher, and how brilliant, how exciting researcher jobs are, actually. I didn't know that you could, I didn't really understand stage management. I didn't understand. And so having the chance to key into all of those jobs, and I know that's a really big task, kind of having a look at all the jobs that exist in this industry, but shining a bit more of a light on all of the areas. It might mean that actually that person still does want to just be an actor or be one of the ones that we very much know about. But I think we can all do better in our own area when we know more about those other areas.
Absolutely.
So it will never be a lost cause. It's sort of twofold, really. It means that the young people might actually get to be inspired by another area of the arts that they didn't know about. But if they do want to continue to go down acting or dancing or music, they will be able to do that job better because they have such a great knowledge of all of the other jobs that take place and what those people do. So yeah, managing expectation, highlighting all the areas that are in the arts, not just the ones that we see in front of us, and really having a look at the difference between a celebrity and a famous person and working in the arts.
Absolutely, that's great. And then following on from that, we've got another question in the chat, which is all about networking. So how is it that you find local directors and other people within the industry to have meetings with and to form these networks, connections?
Absolutely. So again, and I hate to put everything on social media, but most of the things I find out about really are on social media. Any networking events, I know, as I say, for Dank, we hold networking events, which means that you have, you from those events, you can then go and arrange to have coffees with those people and have chats with them. And of course, they exist for non-disabled people too. But also as non-disabled creatives, please feel free to learn a lot more about Dank, because you'll find loads of people there, and the whole point is we're trying to integrate here and we're trying to make it a very common thing that disabled and non-disabled people work together. But also looking at venues, I think the Royal Exchange is a really good example. I was aware that, of course, Jerry Knight-Smith, who sadly I think put on Twitter the other day that he's not going to be the casting director for Royal Exchange anymore after 20 plus years, knew that Jerry was the casting director, and again just said when I was moving to Manchester and just asked for some time as opposed to a job. I think that's a really big one, isn't it?
Yeah,
like if you definitely go ask people what you think they can offer you, and so many people kind of think that, oh, the only thing I can ask for is a job. Surely not at all. I know that hopefully I would have some sort of wisdom of some kind to give to somebody, but I know I couldn't necessarily offer them a job. But if someone asked if they could shadow me for a little bit, or they could have a meeting with me, or they could ask me to read their work, I would absolutely do that, because I can. That's something I can do. So I think, go on the websites of theatre companies or TV companies, find out who the people are, and when you email them, ask them just for a chat, and make sure it's obvious that you're not asking for a job. What you're doing is, I keep talking about stepping stones, tear it right the way back. None of us are entitled to just go straight in and get a job, but what we are entitled to is to at least ask people for a little bit of their time and say, could I have a meeting? I've just got some questions and I would love for them to be answered. Just keep reminding yourself of the things that people can do for you, that is in their remit, and usually, a little bit of time, a phone call, a Zoom session might be up there with some of the things that they can offer.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really echo that. I think it's about having the conversation first, and you learn so much through chatter, actually, and it doesn't always need to be a means to an end. I think there's a lot of pressure with time restraints, financial restraints, to go in and get what you need to survive, but actually allowing yourself the breathing space to just chat can sometimes lead to the most, and
you'll enjoy it so much more. Absolutely. Like, I think very early on I realized that I would be very unhappy if I thought I could only be happy when I was working as an actor in a job acting. That's really not the case. And the sooner that I think you stumble upon that and you go, oh wow, okay, somebody from the Royal Northern College of Music, and I can't think of his name now, I will try and get that, he explained it as a mixing board, and it stayed with me ever since, that in this industry, sometimes my acting might be up and my workshops or my speaking or my mentoring or anything else might be down. When I have to drag the acting one down for a little bit, the other two might zoom up. Creating my own work might go up. But it's about really trying to find how you enjoy those, however many you've got at the bottom, and having a look at when some of them go up and some of them go down. to balance each other out.
Yeah, I love that analogy. It's great. Yeah, because there is so much pressure to have everything up all the time and to be achieving all the time, and actually sometimes the greatest ideas come in those moments when they're down and you have breathing space. So I think that's wonderful advice. Fab. So I think we've got Rhiannon, who said, I'm currently researching drama schools for myself at the moment, and I have a physical disability. I was just wondering if you have any advice about having a disability whilst living independently and training as an actor.
Yeah, I think I think the problem is that there's not enough advice out there at the moment, and there's not enough support. And my worry is, and it might have changed, but I certainly know that when I started drama school, I don't think there was enough education or enough knowledge from the the student services about how to support somebody with a disability. So I think they are the people that you would automatically go to, the student services. So that would be my first call. But if they haven't got the amount of knowledge just yet, and again, that will be, I don't think any shame on them. It is just because we're transitioning into a stage that hopefully are going to see more disabled actors going to drama school, that maybe the knowledge of how to support them hasn't evened out at the same time. But absolutely approach student services and join DANK if you are not already, and if there's any ways that we can support you to write a letter or have a phone call or write an email. Write a letter is very everyone writes letters anymore, but yeah, we DANK and networking groups like DANK can absolutely to support to have those conversations. Disabled students allowance as well, DSA. I'm really sorry if I've said this and it doesn't exist anymore. It did exist when I was at drama school. That's disability, a disabled students allowance, and that very much supported me with extra things that I needed. I think it supported me with taxis when I had loads of bags to carry and couldn't carry them all and things like that. So I can only imagine that they will have the right people to get in contact with for living. For me, I didn't have any specific access needs for my house, but the disabled students allowance would be the people that would have that information.
Fab. That's great. That's brilliant. And then Katie has asked, how would you go about emailing agents as a disabled performer, getting across that you can play more than disabled roles?
Yeah, absolutely, Katie. And this is the one thing we're really trying to push at the moment is, if we continue to just think that disabled actors can only play the disabled roles, then my gosh, we're really going to be in this for a very long time, aren't we? But I think it's a difficult one trying to prove that, isn't it? How do you prove to an agent that wants to sort of, an agent will make money from the work that you get, and so I think maybe letting agents know that there's movements that exist at the moment, so that as a community of disabled actors, we really are pushing for change, and that the industry is starting to listen, because agents might not know at the moment how much industries are listening to us, and they really are starting to listen. Now, obviously, listening shouldn't be confused with acting upon. I think we've got a long way to go in terms of fully acting upon what they're listening to, but they are starting to listen, and the more the agents know that, the better, I think. But to also maybe have a look at the disabled actors that you like, that people that you sort of look up to in the industry. Have a look who their agents are. I know that there are agents that do specifically just work with disabled actors. I personally haven't. I've been lucky enough to be with my agent ever since drama school. My agent's called Nikki Winterson, and she's just incredible. She's just, I don't think I when I hear stories of people not liking their agent, it always really upsets me, because I think I don't know what I'd do if we didn't get on, and we more than get on. She's just brilliant. but I would, for me, I have never personally wanted to be with an agent that only represents disabled actors.
Mm-hmm.
And I think another thing, Katie, that I think we can really do with Dank at the moment is continue to tell the industry that when they are looking for disabled talent, please go to all the other agents, because the more agents are hearing from the industry going, I need a disabled actor, the more mainstream agents are going to go, oh my gosh, I don't have any on my books. So it really is, I think there's a campaign in that for us as Dank to push, maybe. So I'm thinking out loud now that maybe we do need to start pushing more to theatres and to TV companies about going, look, when it comes to casting, please don't just assume that everybody congregates in one area. And actually, the more that you put the casting things out on Spotlight, it will allow Spotlight to see that we need more disabled actors on there. But as the agents get those breakdowns through, they will start to see that there is a real need for more disabled talent. But absolutely, I think in those emails, be really sure to let agents know that the industry is listening, and there's really great stuff coming out at the moment with disabled actors in.
Brilliant. That's great. There was a very similar question that was submitted in advance from a second year John Moore's student, who was asking again about forming relationships with agents, but also following on from that, also asked if you have any audition tips.
Audition tips. Auditioning's fun, isn't it? I guess that we all haven't done it in such a long time. I think that one of my first tips would be how you see an audition. And for me, I was told years ago, and it stayed with me, to see the audition as a chance to perform, and that in itself is part of your job. I think if you only see the job starting from if you get the job, then again, it might be a really long and sad at times career. Whereas if you start to see your audition as that is part of your job, and even if it's only in front of 1, 2, 3, 4 people, you're performing in that moment. Everything that you do is on you to perform in that moment. So yes, always see the audition as it's your opportunity to perform, which is why you're in this industry in the first place, because you love telling stories. But also to find the balance between not overdoing it. I think from what I've been told from casting directors, is when you come in with a very clean cut, perfect audition, it almost feels like there's not as much wriggle room for the director to work with you, because you've made your assumption basically on what you think that character is. And I think that can come across quite a lot in an audition if you go, this is how I would play it and that's it. So I think have enough variety to know that actually you've thought about a few different ways of playing this, and you can see that there are different ways that this character could come across, but you're up for being directed. How much you can take on direction makes up such a huge amount of your audition. It really does. I remember one of my first ever auditions for TV, and the person that got me the audition, I had known because they'd been a director at drama school, and they were in on the audition, and I did this audition. I thought I'd done really well, and I remember him, wonderful Ewan Marshall at the BBC. He said, oh, Melissa, can you do it again, but can you try it like this? Actually, could you change that bit? And I remember thinking at the time that was a criticism. I think I was about 21, and I was like, oh my gosh, he hated what I did, and now he's thrown me under the bus in front of Julia Crampsey, who's head of casting at the BBC, and now she thinks that I can't do it because he's had to tell me how to do it differently. And I sometimes look back on that and laugh, because I just think what he was doing was he wanted to show her, because he knew I could take direction. He just wanted to show her how much I could take direction on the day, and that is such a big one. Like, when they give you notes on how to do it again, never take it personally. It's not that you did it wrong the last time. It's because they want to see how much you can take direction, and really listen to what they say. If you don't understand if they've given you a note on how they want you to do it, never just go, oh yeah, okay, and actually you didn't really understand. Ask them again, like, get clarity, because that shows if you got the job, that shows what you'd be like on set on the day, and they want someone that's going to be able to take direction and ask questions when they need.
That's brilliant. That's fantastic. Really, really great advice. Fab. I'm just going to quickly check if we've got any more. The only final question we have, which was submitted in advance, was again from a John Moore student, was just about the differences between working in the television and theatre industry. And if you've got any tips on how you would maybe choose, if whether you to spread yourself out across both art forms.
Yeah, definitely. I think naturally, I think naturally the route is that you often go to theatre first, because there's sort of smaller, there's fringe theatre and there's smaller venues that you can, and I sometimes think theatre is your stepping stone, but not always, of course. I think that it really is personal to everybody. I know actors that are fantastic actors, but they only want to work in TV and film. They don't want to work in theatre. I know actors that I've worked in theatre with, and they've said, oh yeah, I've done a couple of TV jobs, but I just hate it. And I think we always assume that if you want to be an actor, of course you want to work in all of it. And that's not the case. You have to remember that if you're working this hard to be in this industry, at least do what makes you happy. And if one of those forms doesn't make you happy, you don't have to work in it. You can craft your career around the medium that you want to push it on. I love theatre and TV. I really do. I love both of them so much. And I feel like the last couple of years I've been so lucky to have a real 50-50 in working in TV and theatre. I also know that probably won't last forever, and that there will be times where it will be one or the other. There'll be times when it will be neither. And I think it's just knowing that if it is both that you want to work in, really enjoy it when you're managing to do both. And that they feed into each other so much. There's things that I've learned from theatre that you can take into, in terms of your reactions, for instance. How you react to something on stage is so different to how you react to it on TV. But the only way you'll know that is by doing both. So even if you change your mind at some point and decide you don't want to do theatre or you don't want to do TV, I do think it is really worth having opportunities in both. And when I say opportunities, I don't just mean getting a lead part on the Olivier stage. I mean having a go at theatre at the top of the King's Arms in Salford, at their wonderful little theatre space above a pub. Try just because you get the same buzz. You will always get the same buzz of performing live to people, and I think that will always really help.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. That they are all of our questions. So thank you. I think that is the first thing to say here. It's been truly inspiring, and we really appreciate you taking your time to speak to those on the call, those who will view it afterwards and listen to it afterwards. I think there's lots of great practical advice alongside lots of inspiration that will keep people driving forward, both in this difficult time and the time to come afterwards. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and well done on all the brilliant work you're doing, because it's I think it's been a real boost for people during this time. So well done.
Thank you so much, and a big thank you to Andy as well, who signed today's, and Judith, who is the silent hero in the background who you haven't seen, who has captioned today so wonderfully. If you're here live now, we will be sending you a follow-up with the chat, because I know that Rachel's been dropping in some great links, so don't worry about quickly jotting that down. If you are watching this or listening to this later on, what we'll create for you is a resource pack with these links within it. For those who are listening rather than watching, we will be letting you know the addresses, and we'll be creating a large print way of viewing all of this information as well. So thank you, whether you're with us now or whether you're with us later. And if you do have any questions at all, please get in touch. Like Melissa said, it's all about that conversation. It's all about those connections, and we are really happy to have them. So whether you just want to have a little whinge, or if you want to really talk to us about a project you've got a lot of belief in, if you've just got follow-up questions about where you feel yourself going in this crazy industry, then please use us, because we're here. So thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciate your time today. And yes, I will now do the awkward Zoom.